Question number 7, the Honourable Annette King.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. And my question is to the Minister of Health. Does he stand by all his statements?
The Honourable Dr Jonathan Coleman.
Mr Speaker, yes, including my comment that you always have to check the facts, check the numbers and ask lots of questions until you get the truth about any Labor Party claim.
That's
right.
Supplementary question,
Supplementary question, the Honourable Annette King.
Does he stand by his statement that, quote, in ophthalmology, there are one or two DHBs that need to lift their game, end quote, when it's been revealed that over the last week there are huge delays in Counties Manukau, Nelson Marlborough and Southern for follow-up appointments, and there is no time frame for follow-up treatment for thousands of New Zealanders with eye conditions that can lead to blindness?
The Honourable Dr Jonathan Coleman.
Yes.
Supplementary question, Mr Speaker.
Supplementary question, the Honourable Annette King.
Why didn't he listen to Treasury and put in a bid for primary care reform last year, knowing that 1 in 9 New Zealanders cannot afford to visit a GP, and the chair of his own working party advised that it had, quote, left many low-income patients out in the cold, end quote?
The Honourable Dr Jonathan Coleman.
Actually, it's not the Treasury that sets policy.
Neither does the Minister, obviously.
Order.
Supplementary question.
We'll just have the supplementary question.
How can he continue to claim that health has sufficient funding when the Professor of Orthopaedic Surgery in Dunedin said yesterday, quote, due to lack of resources, about a third of referrals from GPs cannot be seen and it's getting worse?
The Honourable Dr Jonathan Coleman.
Simply because health has had an extra $2.2 billion in the last budget over the next 4 years for pressures and new initiatives, including a record $568 million. But of course, the point is, we're focused on results.
Supplementary question,
Supplementary
Mr. Speaker.
question, Honourable Annette King.
Is the reason he is allowing DHBs to send letters to frail older New Zealanders telling them that their home help will be stopped unless they also require personal care services is the way to reduce costs, and it's at the expense of very vulnerable people?
The Honourable Dr Jonathan Coleman.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Point of order, the Honourable Annette King.
I seek leave to table a letter from Mid Central Health to an older New Zealander telling them exactly what I have just said. It's dated the 1st of November this year.
It's been described. Leave us sought to table that letter from the DHB. Is there any objection? There is none. Can be tabled. Question number